We are at the Lee-Fendall House Museum and Garden in Alexandria, Virginia. In 1974, we opened as a museum, and we have been operating as a museum to preserve the site, to educate our local community and our visitors about the families who have lived here, about their importance, not just nationally, but regionally, and to talk about the many developments in American history that this house has had a chance to witness. The Lee of our name refers to Captain Henry Lee, better known historically by his nickname Light Horse Harry. Light Horse Harry Lee owned several lots here in Alexandria, and so he originally owned the land. But in 1784, Captain Lee could use a little money, and so he sold the lot here to his cousin, Philip Fendall, who was originally of Charles County, Maryland. It is Mr. Fendall then who moved his family to Alexandria and built the home that we have here today. So the house was built for Philip Fendall. Philip was a lawyer by education and by trade, but he was also highly involved in agitation on behalf of colonial affairs, on behalf of the revolutionary cause while he was living in Maryland. But once he moves to Alexandria, the Revolutionary War is over, and he is coming because of the economic opportunities that Alexandria is offering to the public. He is coming to take advantage of commercial opportunities as well. So Philip has the house here built. It takes 51 enslaved workers to build the house, and they build a style of architecture that is very common where Philip is from, in southern Maryland, but otherwise it's not used in Virginia. And so the style we refer to as the Maryland telescoping style, and we're the only example of its kind in Virginia. In the 1970s, when we were added to the National Register of Historic Places, we were added because of our architectural significance in the state of Virginia, less because of our historical connections. So I think that's a fun thing to know about the house. Starting in 1780, the Lee family begins to move to Alexandria. But by 1800, led by Philip Fendall, there are so many of the Lee family here, right in this neighborhood, right in the 4 blocks that make up the intersection of North Washington Street and Orinoco Streets, that the city is actually referring to this intersection as Lee's Corner. There are over 40 members of the family that live right here in the neighborhood. The houses that directly surround us today all have Lee family connections, as well as several other houses in Alexandria, in Old Town proper, also had a tremendous Lee connection as well. Of all the family members that people ask us the most about, Robert E. Lee is the name that comes up the most often. Although the Lee family are notable through many generations for their contributions to our diplomatic efforts, to our military efforts, to our legislative efforts, Robert E. Lee is the name that we cannot seem to get away from here at the Lee-Fendall House. Robert E. Lee was never a resident of the house here. In fact, he grew up first at the Stratford Hall plantation near Fredericksburg, and then he moved here to Alexandria to live in a house that now stands just right here in our neighborhood. The family that lived here would have been Robert E. Lee's first cousins. It was his Aunt Mary, her husband, his Uncle Philip, and then their children, Philip Jr. and Lucy, who would have been Robert E. Lee's first cousins. So we do know that Robert E. Lee, that his mother and siblings and father would have certainly been involved in the family affairs, and their social endeavors, in their quieter family moments and their holiday celebrations would certainly have had connections with the family here. The North Parlor, where we are today, helps capture several elements of the story that we tell here at Lee-Fendall, and so we wanted to show that to you. We know that the room served as the most formal gathering space for the family and for their visitors, and so accordingly it is showing you the finest furnishings that a family can offer. Here in the museum today, although we don't have many items that were originally in the house, we do have many items that did play a role in our story. For example, we have a large number of Lee family portraits that are being shown here in this room. We have some of their more personal objects. For example, the silver tea service here in the room. It belonged to generations of the Lee family. But we had also decided early on in the course of the museum that another role that we could play would be to highlight craftsmanship in Alexandria and in the contributions that Alexandria artisans are making to culture and to decorative arts in America. So the day beds, the sofa that we show, the small chairs that flank the tea table, those are all made here by the Green family of cabinet makers around the mid-19th century, circa 1850. Green family pieces have become highly prized here in Alexandria. They are wonderfully constructed and reveal quite a lot of important information just about the skill and ability of craftsmen as Alexandria is entering the Industrial Revolution period. So the room that we are in today, the North Parlor, has also seen its share of some pretty important company. One of the first dinner guests here at Philip Fendall's home was George Washington, who dined here in November of 1785. We have records that Washington dined here at least 9 times with the family, perhaps more. And we also have records of a robust visitation between the Washingtons and the Fendalls at Mount Vernon as well. George Washington is certainly known and revered for many reasons in American history, but one of his lesser known contributions to American society was that after the Revolutionary War was over, he founded what is known as the Society of the Cincinnati. The society was meant to serve as a fraternal order between officers who had served with him in the Revolution, just to keep those bonds of fraternity intact. Light Horse Harry Lee served as a prominent cavalry officer during the war. He served primarily in the southern colonies, but he did also spend quite a bit of time in New York and New Jersey, directing cavalry troops and cavalry operations in the northern colonies. Once the war was concluded and General Washington decided to form the society, Light Horse Harry was a natural member to include. We have on display here the certificate that was given to Light Horse Harry, his certificate of membership. You can see it's ink on sheepskin. The certificate features many symbols that were commonly used by the society in their china, in their artwork, on their certificates, and in other ways. The eagle at the top, the image of Columbia, who represented everything that was good about America, the American flag, the seal of the organization. But what most visitors are tremendously excited to see when they see this certificate is the signature of George Washington that is here towards the bottom. I think visitors have a very strong reaction to seeing George Washington's signature at such a close proximity to themselves. So often in museums we try to keep a little bit of space between our collections and our visitors because we have a duty to help preserve them. But in this case, our visitors are able to step very closely to George Washington's signature, and it's a highlight for most of our visitors. What we hope people walk away with when they leave the Lee-Fendall House is an understanding of the role that the families and the residents of this house have played both nationally and locally.